and it is the RSPCA's 200th birthday today. But the celebrations come during an incredibly busy and challenging time for the charity.
Our reporter Charlie Haynes joined a team of inspectors to find out what they're facing every day. And I should warn you, you may find some of the pictures upsetting.
Oh, hello, baby.
First up today, an abandoned XL Bully dog in Leicester.
I know, you don't want to be my friend, do you?
Abandoned dogs are a big part of the job and have been since the organisation was founded 2 centuries ago. Inspectors can only take an animal if they've got evidence it's abandoned and no one's been in the home.
It's a really efficient way of establishing if somebody's going in or out.
After a tip-off, we discover someone's coming to check on the dog only every 3 or 4 days.
It's a report that the owner's gone to prison and that the dog's been left unattended.
To be honest, I think we're going to have to look at issuing him with an abandonment notice, or basically having a very frank discussion with him about handing the dog over to Leicestershire Police.
We find out later the police come to take the dog. Since XL Bullies were added to the Dangerous Dogs Act earlier this year, it's illegal to transfer ownership. Sadly, that means the dog had to be euthanised. Next call, it's neglect on a much larger scale.
10 guinea pigs, 4 rabbits, various skin issues, bite marks from being in a small enclosure together. The ferret's environment was poor, dirty, faeces and urine.
The owners are an older couple who've had the animals for 54 years. They're vulnerable and we've made the decision not to identify them.
So health-wise, we've just got all the faeces and everything crusted on her nails.
In the end, there was over 160 animals in the small semi-detached home.
It was worse than I expected. They've got mites, they might have ringworm, we've got injuries from fighting because of overcrowding. Some of the babies are very thin. If these animals are living in darkness, pitch black, no ventilation, no light, no space, just wading around in their own excrement.
The inspectors made a decision here not to prosecute, thanks to the cooperation of the owners.
We're not here to just, strip all their animals away, and we're not here to prosecute them. It's about trying to help the animals and help them because the situation's just got completely out of control.
The RSPCA deal with around 1 million calls a year. Of these, almost 1,500 resulted in prosecutions. Most result in advice on how to better look after animals. A sense of humour helps in this job. But this is serious. Oil's been dumped in a lake, threatening the wildlife. These goslings are covered in oil.
We've got some burning here. I don't know if you can... from where it's been on.
Our primary objective is to catch as many of the birds as possible that are significantly oiled. We need to get that oil off them ASAP into a wildlife centre.
It saps the waterproofing from their feathers, which can be fatal. Today, 8 were rescued. Once caught, the birds are taken to a wildlife centre, but there's a problem.
One of them was collapsed and we've made decisions to euthanize it, so we're just assessing this one. He's quite brightly, so as much as we can try and clear the oil off him and give him a chance, really. He's got a fight in him.
Some hope at the end of a tricky shift for the inspectors. This gosling was luckier than his brother and driven up to a wildlife hospital in Cheshire, where staff there were able to clean him up and send him home. Charlie Haynes, BBC News.
God, you do get a sense there of the scale of the work of the RSPCA. Let's talk to Emma Slavinsky, who's the Director of Policy, Prevention and Campaigns at the RSPCA. Firstly, Emma, congratulations. Happy birthday. That's quite an achievement, 200 years. Just remind us of the scale of the RSPCA, what you've done over these 2 centuries.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's a fantastic celebration day for us all. And in terms of scale, we have to remember that it started very small. 200 years ago today, a group of people met in a coffee shop. And at that time, there was no animal welfare movement. There were no animal welfare organisations. They came together, they formed the SPCA. We didn't get the royal R until a bit later. And from that, a movement sprang up all around the world. And there are now animal welfare organisations spread far and wide all around the world, thanks to that first moment. But the scale is huge. We get about 1 million calls every year. We rehome over 100 animals every single day. the task is still enormous. There's so much left to do, but today really is a day of celebration for our supporters, for our volunteers, for our teams to think about what we have done and how we're going to tackle the challenges that are still coming.
I guess the founders, all those years ago, must have hoped that there would come a time where there would be less of a need for an organisation and that animals would be better looked after. And yet, last year, was it, we saw the highest rate of abandonment of animals. Why do you think things are going in that direction and not better?
It's true. At the highest rate of abandonment, and also this week of the year is our busiest week for call-outs and people needing our services. I think partly it's to do with COVID and the pandemic. Lots of people got pets in that time. We also have the cost of living, which is driving some of the neglect and abandonment, sadly. But there are other challenges for animals as well. The growth of intensive farming, for example, or for wildlife, the destruction of habitat can be really difficult as well. So animals really are facing more challenges today than they have done over the past 200 years. But I think what's important is that there is something everybody can do, whoever they are, whatever kind of person you are, there's something that you can do every day to make the world a better place for every kind of animal. And they can be tiny things like always picking up litter or making sure when you're buying products that you're thinking about animal welfare, right through to rehoming or feeding the birds in your garden. There's so many things we can all do to feel like we're making a difference as well.
When you talk about being more mindful when you're buying products, for example, thinking about animals, what are the sorts of things we should be looking out for? Because it's quite easy, especially at the moment, to look at the price point and prioritise that.
It is difficult, isn't it? And as I said, I think the cost of living is one of the drivers we're seeing behind the high rates of abandonments, for example, we're seeing at the moment. But you can make really good decisions as a consumer. So if you're buying animal products, you can look for RSPCA assured labels on the packets. If you're buying other kinds of products, you can look for cruelty-free symbols like the Leaping Bunny. And those decisions can really help drive a change. For example, we now have more free-range eggs sold in the UK than other kinds of eggs. And that's really because people are making that decision in the shop to look for higher welfare.
That's really good advice. Just looking at your numbers of reports that have come into you. So last year, 72,000 about abandonment and neglect. That's the highest number since 2020. Ben talked about when the RSPCA was created 200 years ago. And there was need there, but perhaps there wasn't the awareness. Is there an extent to which the higher number of reports is because we are more aware and we're more likely to report an incident that looks like something's not happening in the right way?
Yes, it's a really interesting question, isn't it? Because is high levels of reporting good or bad? You know, we would always want people to do something if they come across an animal. One of our issues, of course, is we're only a charity, so we can't do everything ourselves. So we also have lots of advice and guidance on our website for what people can do themselves if they come across an injured animal, for example. But you're right, people are much more aware. And in fact, as part of our 200th birthday, we're trying to create a 1 million strong movement of people actively doing things for animals. So trying to turn that awareness into something people can do. And I think that's a really exciting idea because it means that animal welfare is actually everyone's responsibility and everyone can do something to help.
We saw earlier this morning that footage, I'm sure you've seen it as well, very distressing, of the calf being hit by a police car. What is your response to what we saw there?
It's absolutely horrible footage. I found it incredibly upsetting to watch, and I'm sure everybody who's seen it felt the same. As the RSPCA, of course, we contacted the police immediately. I am really pleased to hear that there is going to be an independent investigation and the police force have referred themselves for that investigation. So I think that's really good. But we want to move towards a world where every animal is treated with compassion and respect. And that's what we hope to see in the future. Incidents like this show us, there's still some way to go.
OK, Emma, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Emma Slavinsky there from the RSPCA.
Yeah, and happy birthday. Hope you celebrate in good style. Maybe I'll get the cat a special treat to mark the day, Ben.
Oh, every day should be a cat treat day. Always.
Should be, shouldn't it?
Should be. That's what the cat told me to say to you.